The Las Vegas Raiders are now entering the free agent period where they're gonna have to make some big decisions, man. This is the first point where Spytek's been here for a year, but this is the first period, this is the first time where he's really making like important decisions. Last season, Carroll was here. I think that he made a lot of decisions based on what Pete Carroll wanted. And I think this year he has more control over personnel and how he wants to build this team. So I think that this free agency is where we're really gonna see Spy Tech go to work, and we're gonna see what he's made of. Who he is as a GM, how he evaluates players, what he likes, what he doesn't like. And it is a combination of him and Kubiak. I think that he works well with coaches as far as knowing what they need, knowing who they want, and doing what you have to do to get it done. So this whole free agency, man, just to be like, man, who they gonna get? There's hella good players, bro. Like especially who we need. This draft itself, I think, is the deepest linebacker class that we've seen. And then if you look at free agency, there's hella linebackers, bro. Bobby Okereke, however you pronounce it, he was just released by the Giants, so I think he would be a good option. You got Devin Lloyd for the Jags. You got I hear a lot of Tremaine Edmonds talk, man. So I don't know, man. We gonna see, but before we get into all that, man, I wanted to talk about this defense a little bit. I play defense. I'm a defensive guy. I love the defense, man. Just the whole scheme the whole scheming part of it. Alignments are like formations. Alignments are basically uh like offensive formations, right? But what you do from that alignment is what's most intriguing about the defense, man. And everybody knows the Raiders are now running a 3-4 defense, right? 3D linemen, four linebackers, four DBs, man. And this is kind of I'm curious, man, and excited, but because there's different alignments, right? And I don't know how much you know, but let me get into the variations, right, of the 3-4 defense. I think what most people think of when they hear 3-4 is three down linemen and two outside linebackers all along the line of scrimmage, right? Now that would be a five-man front, right? Because you got five players along the front side of the defense, right? The line of scrimmage is the front, the secondary is the back, right? The back end. So a five-man front in a 3-4 defense, that's one variation, right? You got a defensive tackle, a nose tackle, a DN, and then two outside linebackers on each side. That's a five-man front. That's one variation of a 3-4 defense. Now another variation is a four-man front, right? So you have defensive tackle, nose tackle, defensive end, and then one outside linebacker all along the line of scrimmage. That's a four-man front, and then you'll have a middle linebacker, a weak side linebacker, and your Sam off the ball, right? So that's another variation of a 3-4 defense. And then you could also play it with a three-man front, right? So that's defensive tackle, nose tackle, defensive end. Your three down linemen along the line of scrimmage, and then you'll have your four linebackers off the ball, either in a straight line, side by side, essentially, or offset, where you'll kind of have the two outside linebackers up a little bit, but not on the line of scrimmage, right? So those are the different variations of a 3-4 defense. What Rob Leonard is gonna do, I don't know. I just hope. I said in a previous video, I'm not a real big fan of a 3-4. Um, the success of a 3-4 is very dependent on the defensive coordinator and his creativity, you know, and the players. How do you use your players? Like you gotta be able to blitz from off the ball. You gotta be able to blitz from back, strong safety from back deep. You gotta be able to bring five to the line and then drop them back into coverage, or show a four-man front and blitz everybody. You know what I mean? Like you got to get real creative in order for a 3-4 to work. And the another thing that I don't like about a 3-4 is the ability to stop the run, right? If you look at a 3-4 defense, especially with the four-man front, it looks thin, bro. You know what I mean? Like you could just look at it and it just the line of scrimmage looks kind of empty. And it's especially if you have an outside linebacker that's standing up, he's already at a disadvantage because he's standing up, right? The lower you are, the better leverage you have, and football is a game of leverage. It always has been, and it always will be, right? So that you're already at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter if you're at a four-man front or 5-man front. If you're standing up, the offensive lineman already he already at an advantage because he's lower than you, right? So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different aspects that I'm just wondering, how it's gonna work, but I'm definitely excited at the same time, man. And so with the different variations in mind, how is Rob Leonard gonna run this defense, man? With all these free agents, we're essentially like 5 days away from free agency, and this is very important. Very, very important for Spytech to build this roster for future success. He's been here for a year. He got some draft picks, he got some free agents, but this this free agency just seems way more important. I don't know if that's because of Kubiak. I don't know if it's just, the off-season optimism that we all have. But going into this free agency, man, I'm excited. I don't know what they're gonna do, but there's a few free agents that I think that they should consider, right? We all know they need linebackers. They needed linebackers before they even switched to a 3-4. So one of the linebackers that I'm hearing is Devin Lloyd. I think Devin Lloyd is probably the best linebacker in free agency. I'm not sure what the Jags are gonna do. Some say that they're not gonna bring him back. So I think he would be my number one off the rip, right? I have heard Tremaine Edmonds. Of course, you would have to trade with him, and there is something that I'm hearing. I think we're all hearing, but I don't want to get into that right now. Um, N'Kobe Dean is a name that I've heard by some. The thing with N'Kobe Dean is that dude, bro, he he's missed like more than one season total, right? Within 4 years. I don't think they extended him his 5th year option. So within 4 years of being in the league, all of the games you missed added up, it's more than one season total, right? Especially if you add in off season or postseason games that he missed. Definitely, I think it was 21 regular seasons, right? So I wouldn't mind bringing him in because at the end of the day, he's a good player. But what are you bringing him in for? You have to be rotational because you can't give him all the snaps, right? Are you gonna bring him in to rush the passer? You know, are you gonna bring him like what's the contract looking like, right? I'm not opposed to it, but there's little things about it that would either make it a good pickup or there's some things about it that could make it a bad pickup, right? But definitely think they should take a look. Um, I've heard some people say Devin Bush. I really don't like it. I mean, you don't have to, as a franchise, you don't want to go out there and just sign the best player at every single position. That's not being realistic. But I just think that there's better options than to bring in Devin Bush. You know what I mean? If you get somebody like, if you get an All Pro at the weak side, then okay, you could bring in Devin Bush because those two would most likely complement each other and create a great duo, right? But to bring in Devin Bush and then bring in another linebacker that's sort of the same level talent wise, it wouldn't be a good decision for us specifically, the point that we're at, right? Going into a rebuild, creating this foundation, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, the players that we bring in, that's going to be our foundation, right? Along with the players that we have now. So Devin Bush, he is an intriguing pick. Um, I guess we're gonna see what they do, right? Alec Pierce, Indy's not gonna tag him. Um, I'm not sure what he's gonna fetch in free agency. I hear a lot of people saying 20 anywhere from 25 million to 30 million a year, which to me seems rich. I wouldn't want them to do it. You know, of course it's their money. They could do whatever they want, but at the end of the day, their job is to build the roster to where you could continually add talent, right? Not putting everything in one player in one basket, right? And Alec Pierce is a great talent, man. I've always liked him. I liked him before he got his 1,000 yard season, right? He's a great number two, right? He's a great complementary piece. And if they get him, I'm not going to like. Let's say they sign him for 22. I think that's realistic, right? Anywhere from 20 to 22 is being realistic, right? Because he's not a true number one receiver. But the thing with him is that he fits perfect in Kubiak's scheme. I mean, perfect, right? So that's a big one, man. That's a big one that I'm looking out for, definitely. Who else? We got Linderbaum. Um, The thing with him is crazy. I don't know if you heard, man. Drew Dalman retired last night at the age of 27, man. Crazy, 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 man. Out of nowhere, like some Andrew Luck type deja vu. Um, so I don't know, man. If do you think that with Drew Dalman retiring, is that gonna throw a monkey wrench in the Las Vegas Raiders potentially signing Tyler Linderbaum? I mean, if you were Tyler Linderbaum and you had the decision between the Chicago Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders, who would you choose? Right? If both franchises were offering you 20 million per year, who would you choose? Right? And so when I think about that, I'm like, man, I don't know, man, because it that's an interesting one, man, and I am excited to see how it unfolds. If we do get Tyler Linderbaum, it will boost our offensive line immediately. We would still need to get an offensive tackle, but I think you can do that in the draft, right? I do think we have starting caliber players within our offensive line if we get Tyler Linderbaum, but at the same time, you need depth, right? In order to be successful in the league, you have to have depth because 17 games is a long time. And that's only the regular season, right? If you have aspirations to make it to the postseason, you need depth, right? And that's one of the main reasons why to I want them to sign sign one and then potentially get another offensive lineman in the draft because Colton Miller's been injured, you know he was injured what in 2023, 2024 he was recovering so he wasn't that good. 2025 he got injured again second half of the season. So I mean, are we going to get a repeat of 2024 where he's recovering and he's not playing that well? Like there's a lot of question marks. And then you got Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers. Yes, we've seen good things on tape, but we also seen good things on tape from DJ Glaze, right? And so those are question marks as well. And my thing with going into the season is like, do you really want to go into the season with that many question marks? Right? I know I don't. I want to go into the season saying these are our best guys, and if this guy don't work, we still got this guy and this guy. We're good. You know what I mean? But I guess we'll all see. Free agency's a week away, man. I'm excited. Who else we got? Who's a potential? AJ Brown, I hear is potentially on the trade block. I don't know. I think the report that I read was that they're asking a first and a second, which is out of there. He's he's great, true X receiver, but for us, I don't think he fits in the scheme, right? Um, Sort of like Pickens, but he got tagged, so that ain't even we don't even got to worry about that. I think scheme wise, receiver wise, receiver Rashid Shaheed off the bat, it's it's already proven he fits perfect with Kubiak. But Alec Pierce, I think if it's not those two in free agency, I think we got to draft a receiver. And this is a deep wide receiver class. Like from The first round to the seventh round, you can draft starters. You can draft a starter in the seventh round. And that's a fact, bro. This wide receiver class is so deep, and the linebacker class as well. But we're using four linebackers, so we need to get linebackers in free agency and in the draft, right? Um, so it's interesting to see what's gonna happen, man. This is a turning point for the Raiders, right? This is a huge turning point, and they can't come out of free agency with a bunch of rotational players. They just can't do it, right? If you look at all the good teams in the NFL, all of them are struggling with their cap space. All of them have to restructure, in some way because they're signing great players or they're drafting great and they have to re-sign their players, right? So the fact that the Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL with 100 million cap space, to me that says we're not signing great players in free agency, or we're not drafting good and then being able to extend these players, right? So it's sort of a two thing uh uh mistake or whatever that they're gonna have to fix, right? So this free agency, they're gonna have to do something, right? Either make one big splash and then get a couple complimentary pieces, man, or they gotta make two or three really good signings, man. So free agency coming up next week, man. Excited for that. Max Crosby. I know I know people are I know people are tired of hearing about it, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. This I hated the talk, right? If you would have asked me last week, I would say, bro, don't even miss me with that, bro. I ain't trying to hear it, bro. But I'm gonna keep it real with you. This this is the time where I'm like, this is probably the first time where I have felt that there's a high possibility that he could be traded, right? And one reason for that, I don't think it's because he's mad at the Raiders. I don't think it's because, the new regime doesn't want him. I think it's for one reason and one reason only. There's teams that are willing to meet the asking price that John Spytek has set for Max, right? And before, really, there's a price for everything, right? It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter who it is. There's a price for everything. And that's really where value comes from. I know people say, oh, well, he's not worth that much. Well, how do you know what somebody else is willing to pay? Just because you're not willing to pay something for that doesn't mean I'm not willing to pay for something like that. And that's really where the value comes from. And Jerry Jones has came out and said what he's looking for, right? Run defender, which Michael Parsons lacked, and leadership, in which Michael Parsons has lacked, right? He has the pass rush. So when you talk about overall ability, I think Max fits perfect with what Jerry Jones wants, with what the Dallas Cowboys defensively need, and they have the value, right? They have two first round picks in 2026, right? They have Kenny Clark, who they got in the trade with Michael Parsons, that they kind of don't want anymore. He just hasn't performed how they thought he would, right? So to me, I think that's the best. That's the team that is most willing to meet the demands, and also they've been restructuring a lot of contracts to free up cap space, right? Why are you freeing up cap space, right? I know that they tagged Pickens. I don't think that they're going to get an extension done, at least not right now. They could be looking at Trey Hendrickson, which is a high possibility, and I think that's the second option besides Max, right? So, man, it's I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I think it's gonna happen, man. And if not Dallas Cowboys, I think the Chicago Bears are really interested in Max Crosby, man. I think that they have some players. I think DJ Moore just, I mean, we've all seen he fits in Ben Johnson's system. We've seen late in the season. I just think that they have too many pass catchers to where they're like, we don't need this much, right? we can load off DJ Moore and then add to the defense where we need it, right? And I don't know. That's interesting too because Drew Dalman just retired. So how are they gonna go about it? Do they still want to give up, those pieces in order to get Max? And I don't know, man. To me, if I'm the Raiders, I wouldn't trade him to Chicago for the simple fact that their first round is a late first round, right? It's basically an early second round, right? So that drops the value. And if you ask me, DJ Moore and Tremaine Edmonds paired up, it isn't worth the first round, right? So the value is already less than what Spytech is asking for. But this, I don't know, man. It's a feeling. I think it's possible. I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, I'm kind of at the point where, man, just do away with it and let's build the team. That doesn't mean that we don't like Max. That doesn't mean that we don't love Max. That we don't want Max. But at the end of the day, we gotta do what they gotta do, whatever they have to do in order to build this roster, man. And yeah, that's gonna do it, man. I just wanted to make this quick video, man. Get this out, let y'all know what I think. If you're a Raider fan or a football fan alike, this is the Antisocial Raider, and we talking football, baby. Click on that circle icon to subscribe, or check out one of the videos down below.